Hey guys, welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about something that's very important to me. Now, you can disagree with my political views, and that's okay if you're from the far left or even from the center and you disagree with some of my conservative viewpoints. I completely respect that. It's America, and you have a right to have your voice and you have a right to have your opinion. And I completely respect that. But I want you guys to join me, even if you are, like I said, extreme left and you don't believe in anything that I believe in. I still want your support. Now, hear me out, okay? Let me explain to you what I'm talking about. Right now in the Republican Party, a party I belong to, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to stay in. And I know many of my fellow Republicans are thinking the same thing. They're thinking that the party is just not worth it anymore. There may not be another option. I don't consider the Libertarian Party a viable option. I do not believe in anarchism. I believe in the rule of law, and I believe in the order of government, a small government, but I still believe in the order of government. Now, if I seem to you a little sad today or I don't know, a little unconcentrated, I didn't sleep last night. And I've had trouble sleeping the night before. I suffer from insomnia. So today has been a rather difficult day, especially since I had to work with small children. As most of you know, I am a doctor. I'm finishing my degree in surgery, but I also run a school, and I've been a teacher now for 15 years. So this is my bread and butter for now, until I move back to America and I can begin a full-time career as a general surgeon. But I want to talk about what's happening with Donald Trump. Now, again, you may think Donald Trump is a bigot, even though there's no evidence of it. You may think he's a racist. I would like you to prove it. Each time I ask somebody to prove it, they can't. They can't show it to me. I know that you may disagree with him, but regardless of whether you disagree or not, we need to talk about democracy. And what does democracy mean? Whether democracy is important to you or not. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you don't want a democracy. Maybe you look at Soviet Russia and you think, wow, it's a phenomenal idea. Or maybe you look at Nazi Germany and you clap your hands. Or maybe you're a Marxist and you think that Karl Marx was right and the West should die. Or hey, maybe you want jihad, or I don't know. But the point is, if you love democracy, and I know Democrats do love democracy, I think they're a little bit confused in the way democracy should be. But I know that in their heart, all Americans, most Americans, love the concept of democracy, the concept of self-determination. Now, democracy, we don't really have democracy. We've never really had a true democracy. I know that we say, well, the Greeks invented democracy. Yes and no. Understand that Greek democracy, specifically we're talking about Athenian democracy, was rich people had a voice and a vote. It was if you had land and if you were a man and you belonged, then yes, you had a voice and a vote. And then you can elect somebody to the Senate. But if you were a woman, if you were a minority, if you were a slave or poor, you didn't exactly have a voice or a vote. And we may disagree with that, but it was a form of democracy nonetheless, in the sense that there was no king until Caesar decided to take all the power, which is something we need to be careful with, and we really should pay attention. To a certain extent, Sparta, even though Sparta had 2 kings at any given time, they had a form of democracy as well, in which the men really participated in the electing of the king and holding the king responsible. And someday I'll do a show on that, because I think it's phenomenal how they used to court-martial the king after 1 year, and if he was found guilty, he would be executed. So I love that concept. Yeah, I'm talking to you, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Anyway, right now, Donald Trump is headed for a contested convention. The very idea of a contested convention is exciting, it's interesting, and it really spurs the idea of democracy. Except that the rules of the convention change year by year. And it's the party elite that make up the rules. So basically, right now, it's unquestionable, it's undeniable, Donald Trump will finish with the most delegates. That's it, there's no question. But because the rule says that you have to reach a certain number of delegates, he will be denied the nomination. The majority of Republicans want him. The majority of Republicans want him. He has won more primaries and by a lot more than anybody else. Yes, Ted Cruz. Excuse me. Yes, Ted Cruz has won a lot, and I don't like Ted Cruz. But if he were to get more votes, I would have to concede. I would not vote for him, but I'd have to concede that he did it fair. Even though I think he's a snake and scum, but it's the will of the people, right? The people want Ted Cruz. God help the people. They elected George W. Bush, so who knows what's wrong with him, right? But if it were that Ted Cruz were to win California and he would gain the majority of the delegates, I don't know what I would do. I would not support the Republican Party, but I would not be so against it. If there is a contested convention and Donald Trump is not allowed to get the nomination, especially if, and it looks like it's going to happen, Paul Ryan with Marco Rubio as his running mate. If that happens, I'm going to say this right now. Fuck you, Republican Party, and fuck you, Republican elders. I will do anything in my power to destroy the Republican Party legally. Legally, don't be calling the police or anything like that. I will dedicate my entire life to making sure that the people understand what criminals you guys are. You guys are taking a third of the Republican Party and turning it against you, essentially guaranteeing the Democrats victory after victory after victory. So Democrats will be super happy. I think it's one of the stupidest things that you guys can do. I know I'm a little voice. I know you guys are not going to listen to me. I understand that. But it really does, it does look like Paul Ryan is running for president. He's not going to win. People don't want him. And a third of the Republican Party will bail. Now, I know you say a third of the Republican Party will also bail if Donald Trump is the nominee. No, they won't. I think they'll come to their senses. Or at least they may vote independent. But there are many Democrats that will vote for Donald Trump as well. The middle Democrats who are disgusted by Hillary Clinton stealing the election. Because let's face it, it belongs to Bernie Sanders. I don't like that little socialist liar. But the majority of Democrats want him. That's very clear. But you know what, Democrats? I got something from you from the Democratic Party. Fuck you too. Because the superdelegates are voting for Hillary Clinton. So your voice and your vote as a Democrat, go fuck yourself. You don't have a voice and a vote. They're going to shove the candidate down your throat just like they're going to shove the candidate down the Republican throat. So we have to choose between a piece of shit and a bigger piece of shit. And that's our choice. That's our country. That's not the country I grew up in. I grew up in DOD schools, in Department of Defense military schools. Excuse me. My brain is a little slow today. I grew up in Germany, in military schools, and I was always taught the value of our system. Understand, my father served for 28 years. My grandfather was in World War I and World War II. My father was in Vietnam 3 years. My father fought in the First and Second Gulf Wars. My sister's a soldier. My aunts, my uncles. I did a couple of years of ROTC, but George Bush won and I got out, and I have my reasons for that. And someday I'll explain that in more detail. I chose to serve my country differently by becoming a doctor and a teacher. But I would have been proud to put on that uniform, and that would have been my future had I not seen what George Bush was going to do. Now, my family has had a very long history, and someday when I have a daughter or a son, they will serve. I will encourage them to put on that uniform and serve. We consider the military our family business, and we take it very seriously. So when people like George Bush throw lives away for oil for their friends, you don't have my support. I'm sorry. And it angers me because the way the situation is right now, this is so blatantly obvious that we don't have a choice. That's it. And if we don't have a choice, why are we serving? Why are we defending this nation? Why are we doing anything? Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or you're an independent, I'm asking you to join me. I want to have conversations through Skype with random people, hopefully educated people, right? By educated, I don't mean you have a degree. I mean you're knowledgeable in the subject, okay? My grandfather never went to school. I think he went to third grade, I think, right? But his knowledge about law was excellent. He was a very intelligent man, knew a lot about plants, knew a lot about farming, and I respected him a great deal, even though he only went to third grade, right? My grandmother never learned to read, but she was a very intelligent woman, knew a lot about life. So I want people from both sides to join me, because this is a problem that affects all of us. This is not a conservative issue. This is not a liberal issue. We don't have a country issue. This is a fuck you, fuck me issue. And I don't know. I like to be wine and dined. I like somebody to buy me dinner before they fuck me. And I feel like I haven't gotten my dinner or my drink. I haven't gotten my movie. Dinner and a movie, right? Dinner, movie, then you fuck me. But right now, the way that it is, I don't know, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think it's okay. Maybe you think that's the system. I don't know. I can just say that every election, I've gotten more and more and more depressed but angry. I do not, and I want to say this very clearly, I do not believe in revolution, in violent revolution. I do not think we should pick up arms. I do not think we should loot, riot. I do not think we should be violent in any way, shape, or form, regardless of whether you're extreme right or extreme left or you're just batshit crazy. I think what we should do is have an intellectual gathering of minds from both sides and decide as a people, what are we going to do? That is what they're scared of. They would love violence because then they can use the police to suppress us. But if we, the people, join hands and peacefully march and peacefully argue and peacefully give the information out there and bring more and more and more people into this, we can make a great deal of difference. Someday I hope that there's a third viable, I hope there's a third and fourth viable party. I want there to be a new party representing progressives. And I want there to be a new party representing true conservative values, true progressive values, so that those two parties can then talk and ignore the Republican and Democratic Party because they're rotten to the core. Yes, I understand over time that party or those parties will also become rotten. But this is why we say that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And if we don't consistently teach the subsequent generations to look carefully, your freedom is going to evaporate. Just take a look at Europe. Look at Europe's situation right now. The EU, it's not going to dissolve, but it's pulling itself apart. Nobody's listening to the central government of the EU. Every country's doing whatever they want. Not only that, but it's becoming very dangerous to be there. I thought maybe at one point I might relocate to Germany. I'm not doing that anymore. They have brought in so many immigrants without checking who they are, that right now there are sections of Germany, sections of Belgium, sections of England that are so dangerous that you cannot go, you should not go into. Yes, I know there are sections of our country as well, but those are more gang-related and also have a lot to do with minorities. I know it's unpopular to say that. I know it is, but it's true. It's absolutely true, and the statistics don't lie. Numbers don't lie. So we need to have very serious conversations as to what are viable options. What are our options? Before we can have any options, we need to deserve freedom. And if we let this happen, we don't deserve our country. We don't deserve a democracy. We don't deserve anything. If you want to know whose fault this is, look in the mirror. Look at me. All of us. We let this happen. But it doesn't have to stay this way. There's plenty of time. And this is not a conspiracy theory or anything like that. This is a reality. This is a reality of what's happening today. We can send a message. Send a message with your vote. You know what? If every or not every, but if 1/3 of Republicans and 1/3 of Democrats and 1/3 of independents voted for the Libertarian Party, that would send one hell of a message. One hell of a message. Just food for thought. They may not be perfect, but you know what? That would shake things up a lot. So in the comments below, right? In the comments below, tell me what your thoughts are. Okay, but realistically, please don't be nasty. Don't leave these obscene comments, which for some reason YouTube really attracts. Leave your comments. Leave your thoughts. I'm going to read all of them. And I'm going to read some of them on the next time that I address you guys on this topic. And if you would like to be part of a panel on Skype where we realistically talk about all of these things, when I'm looking for people who are really experienced in the far left and the far right, I don't want to argue policy. I don't want to argue gun control or abortion. No, I want to argue, what are we going to do to take our democracy back? That's what I want to argue. Because without that, nothing else matters. Nothing. Thank you very much for listening so far. Please hit a like or hit a dislike. Leave a comment, positive. If not, don't leave a comment. And just tell me your thoughts. Let's talk about this. Let's have a serious conversation. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.